The emergency session hall of the Galactic Council had never felt so suffocating. Chancellor Vethmon's compound eyes darted nervously across the assembled representatives of 847 species, their various breathing apparatus and translation devices creating a symphony of mechanical whispers. The air recyclers struggled to accommodate the stress pheromones emanating from dozens of different physiologies. The motion before us today, Vethmon announced, his mandibles clicking with barely controlled anxiety, is to classify the species known as humans under Protocol 7, apex predator species. The highest threat classification in our records. A collective shudder rippled through the assembly. In 12,000 years of galactic civilization, only 3 species had ever received that designation. 2 had been extinct for millennia. The third had been quarantined to their home system until their sun went nova. "We thought they were just another primitive species seeking membership," whispered the Altarian delegate, her crystalline form refracting the chamber's lights into nervous patterns. "We were catastrophically wrong. But how had they gotten here?" ## 6 months earlier the human delegation had arrived at Galactic Council Station Omega with characteristic understatement. Their ship, a modest vessel called Endeavour, looked almost quaint next to the kilometer-long dreadnoughts and bioorganic cruisers that typically carried species representatives. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez stepped onto the docking platform wearing a simple blue suit that seemed almost primitive compared to the advanced materials and energy fields adorning other delegates. "Honored council members," Elena had said, bowing respectfully to the assembled xenobiological menagerie, "Earth is grateful for this opportunity to join the galactic community. We come seeking knowledge, friendship, and peaceful cooperation." Chancellor Vethmon had barely suppressed his amusement. Another young species, eager and naive, seeking to play in an arena far beyond their comprehension. Elena appeared so, harmless. Average height, unremarkable features, soft voice. Her species showed none of the obvious predator markers the council typically watched for, no prominent fangs, claws, armor plating, or electromagnetic manipulation organs. "Welcome, humans of Earth," Vethmon had replied with condescending magnanimity. "We look forward to evaluating your potential contribution to our great civilization." The evaluation process had been routine. Military capability assessments showed humans possessed only crude projectile weapons and primitive nuclear technology. Their resource analysis revealed a small, single-planet civilization with limited expansion capability. Cultural studies suggested they were social creatures with strong cooperation instincts, perfect candidates for manipulation by more advanced species. What the council failed to notice were the questions humans asked. Elena and her team showed intense curiosity about galactic threats, military tactics, and defensive technologies. They requested detailed briefings on every hostile force the galaxy had faced in recent centuries. When told such information was classified, they politely accepted the refusal while quietly noting which species seemed uncomfortable discussing certain topics. Provisional membership granted, Vethmon had announced after the standard 3-day evaluation. "Welcome to the galactic community, humans. We're assigning you to Patrol Sector Designation Null 7. A quiet region perfect for learning the ropes." Elena had accepted the assignment with gracious professionalism, thanking the council for their wisdom and guidance. What she didn't mention was that Null 7 was precisely the sector she had hoped to receive. The empty space assignment sector Null 7 was known throughout the galaxy as the Graveyard of Hopes. For 3 centuries, it had been terrorized by entities known as Wraiths, interdimensional pirates who could phase in and out of normal space at will. Their ships were invisible to most sensors until they attacked, and their weapons could ignore conventional shields. Dozens of species had lost entire fleets trying to clear the sector. The Council's assignment of humans to Null 7 was intended as traditional hazing, dump the newcomers in an impossible situation and see how quickly they begged for reassignment to safer space. Most species lasted 2 weeks before fleeing with tales of ghostly attackers and impossible odds. Captain Maria Santos commanded the human patrol vessel Persistence, a converted exploration ship that looked almost pathetic compared to the massive warships that had failed in this sector. Her crew of 40 seemed impossibly small for the task ahead. What the Council didn't know was that Santos had spent months studying every piece of intercepted Wraith attack footage in Earth's databases. The encounter came on their 4th day in Sector Null 7. The Wraiths materialized around the Persistence in their characteristic formation, a dozen phase-shifted vessels moving like sharks through dimensions the human sensors couldn't even detect. They expected another easy prey, another terrified crew to add to their collection of trophies. Instead, they found something they had never encountered before, a species that had studied their tactics. The human ship erupted with modified quantum destabilizers, weapons that shouldn't have existed on such a primitive vessel. Santos had spent weeks adapting alien technology salvaged from Wraith attack sites, creating weapons specifically designed to disrupt phase-shifting capabilities. When the Wraiths tried to fade between dimensions, they found themselves locked in normal space, vulnerable for the first time in centuries. The battle lasted exactly 12 minutes. When it ended, an entire Wraith raiding squadron had been reduced to debris, and not a single human had been injured. The Persistence transmitted a simple report back to Council Station Omega: Sector Patrol complete. No anomalous activity detected. News of the Wraith defeat spread through galactic communication networks like wildfire. For the first time in 300 years, an entire Wraith squadron had been destroyed. The feat was considered impossible, until the humans did it. But instead of celebrating their victory or requesting recognition, Elena made an unexpected request. She wanted additional patrol assignments in dangerous sectors. "We appreciate the Council's confidence in our abilities," she told a bewildered Chancellor Vethmon. "Perhaps we could assist with other, challenging areas that need attention." The Council, still processing the impossibility of the Wraith defeat, assigned humans to increasingly dangerous regions. Each time, they expected to receive distress calls and evacuation requests. Instead, they received calm reports of problems resolved and requests for new assignments. The Carthan Crime Syndicate, a galactic mafia that had terrorized trade routes for decades, discovered that human ground forces could adapt to any environment within hours. Their heavily fortified asteroid bases fell one by one to human assault teams that seemed to evolve new tactics mid-battle. What truly terrified the Syndicate was that humans showed mercy to defeated enemies, a concept so alien to galactic criminal organizations that it became their greatest fear. You couldn't predict or manipulate a species that combined overwhelming lethality with incomprehensible honor. The pattern became clear to anyone paying attention. Humans weren't just fighting these battles, they were learning from every encounter. Each victory made them more dangerous, each defeated enemy became a source of new knowledge and capabilities. They retained information with perfect clarity, adapted technologies they had never seen before, and somehow turned every threat into an opportunity for growth. #The revelation. The moment of truth came during Elena's address to the full Galactic Council 6 months after humanity's first assignment. She stood at the central podium, still wearing that same simple blue suit, but something fundamental had changed. The soft-spoken diplomat was gone, replaced by something that made every predator species in the chamber instinctively step back. "Honored Council members," Elena began, her voice carrying a new edge that cut through the universal translators like a blade, "I want to thank you for the educational opportunities you've provided my species. We've learned so much about galactic civilization, about the threats you face, about your weaknesses." The last word hung in the air like a toxin. Vethmon felt his exoskeleton beginning to crack under stress. "You see," Elena continued, her eyes scanning the assembly with the cold calculation of an apex predator evaluating prey, "we didn't come here seeking membership in your civilization. We came here to understand it. To catalog it. To learn how to protect it, from itself." She gestured, and holographic displays filled the chamber showing detailed analyses of every major galactic threat of the past millennium. Wraiths, Carthan Syndicate, the Void Hunters, the Machine Collective, all analyzed, categorized, and marked as neutralized or neutralization pending. Humans evolved on a world where we eliminated every competing predator species, Elena explained with clinical precision. "We don't just adapt to survive. We adapt to dominate. We don't just learn from our mistakes, we learn from everyone else's mistakes. We don't just solve problems, we eliminate the sources of problems permanently. The chamber erupted in panicked chittering, shrieking, and electromagnetic distress calls. Elena waited for the chaos to subside before delivering her final revelation. We've spent these 6 months cataloging the combat capabilities, psychological profiles, and tactical weaknesses of every species in this council. Not because we intend to conquer you, conquest is inefficient. We cataloged you because effective protection requires complete understanding of what you're protecting. Hashtag the new order. Back in the present emergency session, Chancellor Vethmon called for the vote with trembling mandibles. The classification of humans as an apex predator species passed 847 to 0. No one abstained. No one dared. The new protocols were implemented immediately. No galactic citizen could approach human space without clearance. No military vessels could enter human patrol routes without escort. All criminal organizations received galaxy-wide broadcasts warning that human-protected space was absolutely forbidden territory. 6 months after the classification, galactic peace reached levels not seen in millennia. Trade routes flourished under human protection. Piracy dropped to nearly zero. Warlike species suddenly developed interests in diplomacy and cultural exchange rather than risk attracting human attention. Elena Rodriguez now chaired the Council Security Committee from her office overlooking the main assembly hall. She watched peaceful delegations conduct routine trade negotiations, territorial agreements, and cultural exchanges without a single security incident. The irony wasn't lost on her. In trying to haze humanity into submission, the Council had inadvertently given them exactly what they needed to become the galaxy's ultimate guardians. Her personal communicator chimed with a message from Captain Santos, now commanding a fleet of human vessels patrolling the galactic rim. New colony ship departing for the Andromeda approach vector. As usual, we're heading for the most dangerous frontier we can find. Elena smiled, an expression that no longer appeared harmless to anyone who understood what humanity had become. She composed her reply, "Excellent. The galaxy learned too late that humans don't seek to conquer civilizations. We eliminate threats. And in a galaxy full of dangers, that made us the most dangerous thing of all." Outside her window, the great ships of 847 species moved through space under the protection of vessels flying Earth's simple blue banner, the flag of the species that had accidentally become the galaxy's apex predators through nothing more than their own inexorable nature. The experiment in galactic civilization continued, now supervised by the species that had evolved to be its ultimate guardians.